everyone, and welcome to Collider Video Recap Show. We are talking about Supergirl Episode 2. What was this one called? It was called Stronger Together. I am Kaori Takee, and with me I've got some lovely, lovely people on my right.
Hi, everybody. I'm Clarke Wolfe. It's nice to see you again.
I'm really bad with my left and my right, if you guys haven't noticed.
This is the left. It makes an L.
That's
how you remember.
All right. And on my very immediate left.
Hey everyone, I'm Carli. Nice to see you all. And hello, I'm Britta Garsow. Nice to see you all.
All right, so here's what we're going to do. We are going to break down this episode, starting with talking about the things that we really liked and really enjoyed. And of course, we're going to talk about stuff that we didn't really think fit too much in this particular episode. We're also going to be taking your Twitter questions. You can also always send us those comments and those questions at #ColliderSupergirl anytime throughout the week, 2 a.m., 4 a.m. We will be there for you when we wake up. And we'll take those Twitter questions as well at the end of this show. All right, so guys, overall thoughts of this episode, episode 2. What do you guys think?
I liked it a lot more than the first episode.
I liked it a lot more as
actually.
well. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought so too. I thought it had more oomph, and I liked the pacing.
Oh, that was one of my things I didn't
Really?
like.
I liked the pacing too, and I felt like, they took more time explaining everything. The first one, we were introduced to so many characters that I just felt like it was like boom, boom, boom. And this one, we really saw her progression.
Okay. Clarke, what did you think?
I actually liked the first episode a little bit better.
Oh.
I liked the energy, and it was a little bit more on the fun side for me, which I really like about this series. I like its energy and its fun. However, with this episode, I felt like you guys said we got a lot more information. We were introduced to a lot of characters. We got to get to know Astra a little bit more. So there were definitely some strong points, but there were some things in there that didn't quite work for me either, which I'm sure we'll talk about.
Yeah, all right. Well, let's first talk about the good stuff. Clarke, what were the things that you liked about this episode?
Well, one of the things that I loved about this episode was Callista Flockhart. Now, I really liked her in the pilot episode as well. I think she's great. But in this episode, I just like the heat she puts on Kara. I like the heat that she puts on James. I like that she is authoritative. And I like that we're not going to see that sort of dissipate or disappear. I think, and also she's delivering some of these lines that are so silly and fun in such a great way. And I think she in a lot of ways might be the glue that holds all the show together. It's
such irony that she played Ally McBeal at some point, where she was, the underdog and being bossed around, and now she's the complete biatch. But yeah, I agree. She's a cool one. Any other positives you want to mention?
Yeah, I mean, I liked, so it kind of is the things that I like and that I didn't like. And I love, like I said earlier, the fun energy of the pilot episode, right? One of the things that was frustrating to me, which I'm sure we can talk about a little bit later, was this episode when Kara was a little goofy. It was a little giggly. It was like kind of almost felt like maniacal laughter to me. It just felt like the comedy was getting pushed a little too hard. However, when Kara was, yelling at Henshaw, and she was like telling him what's what at the end when she came back into that episode because nobody told her that Alex was captured or what their mission was. Like, I thought she owned that stuff. When she had that scene with James out on the balcony and they were talking about like life and destiny, she brought up this.
I love that part.
It was so good, and she brought up this piece about how Kal-El was a baby when he left Krypton, but she actually has memories of it, and she knows how that Kryptonian society operates. And to me, that was such like an aha moment, because she's been in Kal-El's shadow this whole time, and yet she's the one that has the real experience.
And I actually really appreciated that particular episode because it showed to us where her mind is at, where she wants to help others and she wants people to appreciate that. And she's also got more experience in terms of living on Krypton, where her cousin doesn't remember any of that. It really sets her apart from Superman, and I really thought that was a priceless moment for this particular episode.
Because her whole mission was to protect him. Yeah. And I think that now that was like a good indicator to me of why. Yeah. Because she actually knew what she was doing.
And in that scene, I also really liked how she was saying, he's done everything alone. I don't want to do anything alone. And we kind of touched on that a little bit in the first episode, how she she really wanted it to be kind of a group effort, and that's why she's exposing herself to Jimmy and Winn and everything. And so I agree. I think that it's great that she wants like a team, and because you shouldn't really be saving the world alone. I mean, that's a lot for one person to take on, and she's so young and inexperienced, and so I really liked that scene.
Well, what are some more of your positives?
I really liked that we got to see more of Alex.
Me too.
I think that I had no clue that like she was such a badass. Like I thought the fight scene between them when she was trying to train her was very interesting, because I didn't think that she would do that to Kara. But I mean, we saw it like really showed her and she learned a lesson and learned how to push her boundaries. So I really liked that scene and interaction with them.
Yeah, that fight scene was really good. And I liked the introduction of Kryponite.
Yeah.
I thought that was good. I mean, for me, I know it was in your negatives, but I'm going to say like it's one of my positives is the pacing. They threw in things there that I thought were essential to move along the episode. And I think the bad guy was really vicious and scary.
I loved him.
And you're thinking,
he's so scary.
crap, this is only episode 2 and this is the villain of the week. What do they have in store for us moving forward?
Yeah, I agree. And I thought that, especially because I think the special effects kind of came into question last week. And I thought his makeup and the effect on his face was fantastic.
I know.
I really, really liked that.
Yeah, and I also like the sharp whatever, I don't know.
Insect thing.
Really
And it's kind of interesting because you think of them as villains, and they thought that he was there to get chemical compounds to make a bomb, but he was just there to eat. And so you really realize that there are these other species living among them, just trying to live among them. And I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah. How about yourself?
Well, my favorite part was Astra, that we got to see more of her, and that the confrontation between her and Kara was so big and profound, and that it already happened. And did you guys think that she was going to think it was her mom at first?
I did.
I was kind of worried about that.
I did. I did too, but she knew right away it was her aunt.
I'm glad that she knew that it was her aunt right away, because I would like to think that if you are, like, let's say you guys had a daughter, that she would know which one's which, right?
Yeah. I think, but I guess you don't really know.
Well, also I was noticing, I know this sounds like a silly indicator, but I noticed that Alora has light brown hair and Astra has dark black hair with the white streak. And so they may physically look the same in their face, obviously, because it's the same actress, but their wigs and they do actually look different.
They do. I think that, though, the fact that she thought they both had died, if she saw someone standing in front of her, I would think that she would think it was her mom, just because why would she think it's her aunt as opposed to her mother?
Yeah,
I think you're right about the hair difference being the main difference is how she noticed.
Yeah, and one looks just more calmer, less makeup, less
aggressive.
Yeah.
a little less aggressive.
Yeah, but I think she was my favorite part. I was really anxious to see her part of the storyline already.
I like her character
such a big
lot.
part. I do too. She's a good villain.
And another of my positives also is with her is the fight scene.
I loved
it. I mean, I complained about the fight scene last week, but this week it was badass. It was cool.
Yeah.
And you were sitting there thinking, crap, her aunt is really strong. I don't know how she's going to get out of it, but then she's got her badass sister out there to help her out as well. I thought they did a flawless job in this part.
Yeah.
And I knew it was going to come back to when they were training and she said use their strength against them. I knew that she was going to flash back to that because I thought that was so clever when she told her. I'm like, oh yeah. And that's obviously what she did when she took on the insect man?
Insect man. Sure,
What was
let's
it
go with
called?
that.
He was called
Hellgramite.
Thank you.
Hellgramite, yes.
Hellgramite, that's right. And I also really think what I'm noticing and gathering from this episode is that Supergirl, not one character, at least up to date, has been a throwaway character. Every character has had some kind of value, and I really appreciate that, because there's some TV shows where you have a character and you're thinking, why are you here making bad decisions, being useless? But I mean, granted, it's only episode 2, but so far I haven't really felt that way with any of the characters. I like Winn. I like, what's his name? James. Who doesn't like James?
James is pretty handsome. I also like with them giving, we saw a lot of different shades of Henshaw in this episode. He was super intense and really hard on Kara in the beginning when they were training, but you could tell by the end of the episode that he was the one that sort of put together her version of the Fortress of Solitude, and he calls her Supergirl.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, he tells
like
Alex
softening
not to tell her that. So, you know, I think that there's a nice he you know, we're seeing different sides of him. He's not just like, for instance, Kat, right? We've seen her you know, be just this really tough boss, and we haven't seen any other sides of her yet. Whereas with Henshaw, we are getting a little bit of, you know, the details.
Yeah,
to
yeah.
That
And
he
we
used to
find-
have a family.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Yeah, I think we hopefully will get a Henshaw-centric episode so we get more details on him.
We had a
Yeah,
good tease
sure.
at the end.
Yeah.
Henshaw's, I think, gonna have a lot to do in the next couple of episodes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was seeing red, no pun intended. All right, but with every good episode also comes some negatives. Nothing's perfect in this world. Let's start over there with the twins.
Okay. Well, since I'm
I
the
like how
only
you guys
one,
look at each other like, this one goes first.
since I'm the only one that didn't like the pacing, apparently, I just thought there was so much again crammed into an episode. Like I felt
Really?
like the first episode it was essential to do that because there was so many things that need to be said. But now with this episode, I was expecting it to be kind of drawn out a little bit more, and it felt really fast paced to me. Like almost like the events that occurred in this episode could have been a movie. Like that's what it felt like to me.
Okay.
So I think it'll get better and it'll slow down because we're still meeting new characters, like you said. Like we're bringing in people that actually mean something to the storyline. But it didn't really work for me in the second episode.
Okay.
There was one that I was kind of confused about the Helgramite. Is that what? Okay.
Yeah.
So when they said, I thought that they were going to go after, Henshaw said they were going to go after him, but then it seemed like they never like followed that storyline. They just went straight to the fight scene with Kara and Astra, and then he came about and fought Alex and everything, but I felt like I was kind of confused in that whole scenario. You know what I mean?
Well, they did go after him.
But they didn't. He came in there, but they didn't. They said, "Oh, well, like we'll give him some dinner, or we'll have dinner with him, or something."
So they could get him.
Yeah, but they never did that.
Well, I think what maybe when they their version of like going after him was, remember the car chase?
Yeah.
When they were, and that's where they got stabbed
Oh,
in the
yeah,
first
yeah,
place, and
okay.
so and
I
he
guess
took their bodies.
That
But
whole scene kind of confused me a little bit.
it was a little. I mean, it was a lot. Like it was
Yeah.
and happening in a car chase or happen like that type of like important
Yeah.
action happening so quickly. I could see how that's slightly.
That was the only
rushed.
scene. It was rushed. So I feel like the pacing of the episode, maybe I wasn't a big fan of overall.
Okay, before I move on to you, I just want to remember. I just remembered that I want to mention Maxwell Lord
Oh,
because
he's
yeah.
he's one of the
Mention
things
him.
I didn't like.
You didn't like?
Oh, I liked him. I
Okay.
loved the actor and everything, but I didn't like how they introduced him, and then that was it. Like
It
we
was-
didn't see him
yeah.
again till the end of the. We didn't see him again.
Yeah, it was a really quick tease.
Yeah.
And but I mean, they must have only had Peter Facinelli for like an hour that day.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had to make a quick cameo.
I mean, it's
but-
definitely strategic. You want to keep watching to see the importance of his character. So I
Yes.
get it.
But see, I like it when they throw things in like that. But if they did talk more about him, wouldn't that throw off your pacing?
It's true. It's true.
They couldn't fit one more thing into this episode.
Yeah.
I guess it was pretty fast. Like looking back on it, a lot happened.
A lot happened.
Yeah.
Clarke, what was some of your things that didn't work?
Well, I think that for me, so I think that I will say overall, I felt like this episode was a little bumpy. The
Yeah.
pilot really worked for me, admittedly, and I actually looked it up while they were watching. It's the same director who directed the first episode and the second episode. But I felt like while I know it sounds like I might be contradicting myself, and I really don't think that I am, but I really enjoyed Kara's sort of she's naive, she's new, she's all these things, and I liked experiencing that with her in the pilot. But once we ended the pilot episode on this, I'm owning it and I'm gonna be Supergirl and I'm empowered, and then when we came back and did this whole, in that second episode, this pouty little sister thing, and a lot of awkward chuckling, it just kind of felt to me like there has to be a more organic way
Sure.
for her to get these emotions across. And like I said earlier, by contrast, she was so empowered and later in the episode and authoritative and had that conversation with James. So that was kind of, to me, that character piece was a little, it didn't quite work.
I see what you're saying because that was
Yeah.
kind of in my negatives as well. Is she in last episode she was owning her new powers, and then this particular episode, everyone's noticing that Supergirl's sucking at this moment. They're getting our news articles about how she's
terrible
failing.
girl.
Terrible girl. So then she needs to, enlist her friends to get better and basically slow her roll. So that was just a little confusing. And there's moments of her that she's a little too bratty sometimes. Not very
her
often.
overconfidence.
Yeah,
Is that
she
it?
can get there.
Yeah. She's naive, I feel like, a little bit.
Sure, but that's also, I guess, the kind of what you love about her as
Yeah.
well, right? That she's just new, and we're on this ride with her, experiencing her transformation and how she's evolving. One of my negatives, and this is also in the first episode, and this is so small, and you guys are going to think it's ridiculous, but the damn coffee cup. Every time they bring this cup of coffee to her boss, Kat, it's obviously empty. And they're always thinking, right? Yeah. And they're always like, oh, it's piping hot. Oh, it's not cold enough. But she's like wiggling like ain't nobody's business. That
I didn't
bothers me.
notice that at all. I did notice that. You're right. She like throws it around like it's no big deal. It's strange they would do it with the coffee cup because when Kara and Alex were having tea, there was steam coming out of the cup.
Yeah,
So
I mean, there's just some prop details that kind of frustrate me when they were eating sushi. And I was like, oh, come on. She just put down some chopsticks to pick up some other chopsticks. What's happening here? But obviously that's not very important.
It's important if you say it's important.
Yeah.
It clearly made an impression on you.
yeah.
Because the first episode I thought, okay, I'll just let this slide. So we'll see if third episode the cup of coffee's real or not, I guess.
Maybe
Or at
she'll
least
just
handled correctly.
do away with it altogether.
Who knows? But I think Kat needs her coffee.
Yeah.
Well, that being said, guys, do you have anything else you guys want to talk about?
I had another good thing that I
Sure.
liked. I liked the use of flashbacks. I'm a big fan of
Yeah.
flashbacks, so I really liked that they used that to show her childhood, even though you don't like the
I
look.
liked her in this one. No, I liked her in this one. I knew that was gonna come up. I knew that was gonna come up. But I thought I really liked her in this episode.
Okay, good. Yeah.
So-
I liked it too. I liked that you got to see little Kara.
And she was so smart and proactive, and I thought it was really cool. I hope that I didn't mention this last week, but when I was little, I used to watch Lois and Clark with my parents, and and it was really, and that's one of the reasons I like this show so much is because I hope that little girls like I was are watching this show now, and I loved seeing little Kara like on Krypton, and just like Googling essentially, like somebody says a word and she wants to learn about it and she looks it up. She's very proactive and smart and wants to talk to her mom, and I like their relationship a lot.
I like that too.
Yeah, me too.
I have another negative that I just remembered.
Okay.
At the end, when we see, I guess, the hologram Alora, I didn't like that. I felt like it didn't really make sense. She said she was there for advice, but I felt like if she really needed advice, she could go see her cousin, or I don't know, I felt like it was a little heartless to just put a hologram of her mother in front of her. I just didn't really like that.
I liked it.
Really?
Yeah, it's good to see a good twin sister,
Yeah.
because right now her only family that she's, I guess, in direct contact with is her aunt, because
Yeah.
we're obviously not going to see much of Superman walking around anywhere.
Right.
He's-
Like literally direct contact.
Yeah, so it was kind of nice because she had that moment, because in this episode and this episode and the previous one, we see how close she is to her mom. Her mom's the one talking to her, not her father, so.
But I do think I will agree to an extent, because I think so far, like when we see in traditional Superman, movies or TV or whatever, the Fortress of Solitude is always, when Jor-El comes and talks to him, it's like always a really powerful, heartfelt, relationship. And it feels like, even though Jor-El's not really there, it feels like he's actually, Kal-El is talking to his father.
Yeah.
And that's a huge underlying theme of the whole Superman mythology. And so I feel like with this, you're right, it did feel, to me, it felt a little hollow.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
Yeah.
traditionally
I'd
it's a little more heartfelt. And even in that last episode, even in the pilot, I feel like their conversation was a little more
Definitely.
heartfelt.
I really felt like they let her in the room and left her there with. It was just there was no compassion. I don't know what it was. It bothered me though.
Maybe I'm like too sensitive, because I felt, oh, this is a great moment for
Okay,
her,
okay.
So I don't know. I guess
Yeah.
it depends on the viewer. But But yeah, all right. So don't forget, guys, you can always send us your questions and your comments all week long, anytime at #ColliderSupergirl. We are going to be taking a couple Twitter questions right now. So let's pop the first one. Our boy Paul Gaston at thePaul25. Could General Auntie already have a plan in place for Superman since it seems her focus is only Kara?
It seems so. She definitely has a plan.
And they also talk a lot about taking National City.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
not so much the planet.
Not yet, anyway.
That could be why.
It just feels like initially she really just wanted to kill her niece, but now that she realized that her niece is stronger than she ever imagined, she wants to utilize that power to join forces. But yeah, definitely has a new vendetta for that.
I think we're definitely going to see Astra trying to recruit Kara.
Yeah,
I think we're going to
definitely.
see that play out a lot more. And so I think to answer the question, that might be why she might not necessarily have much of a plan for Kal-El right now. Also because this is somebody that she is, you know, directly related to and has real experience with. As far as we know, we don't know if Astra has interacted with Kal-El much at all.
Yeah,
exactly.
we don't know. And it's payback for her mom sending her
Exactly.
away.
I'm quite curious to know what did she do exactly that made
That-
her,
Yeah,
Me
I'm
too.
curious too. I would never send you away.
I would never send you away either.
moment. Well, unless one of you guys were really bad,
No,
right?
she'll never do.
I think we're going to find out, though, what she did. I'm curious,
I'm
too.
really curious. I think we're gonna find out too. We have to.
It has to be something about not trusting other human beings, which is funny because it's the complete opposite of Kara wanting to believe in everybody and help each other out. So, okay, next question. Nick Vargas at Nick HGM. God, this is like optometry. 95, 6. Okay. Do you think we could see Hank become Cyborg Superman, or at least a version of the character at one point in the series?
So, at the end of the episode, we see his eyes glow red. And instead of Cyborg Superman, I was sort of thinking that might have been Maxwell Lord, like, controlling him already. I mean, we don't know for sure because we only saw Maxwell for a very brief amount of time. But in terms of the mind control, that was like my
That makes the
takeaway,
most
or
sense for
guess.
sure.
I-
Just
yeah.
because we were introduced to him briefly, and we know he has mind control powers, and just the fact that his eyes just like glimmered a little bit. I feel like that would be a good conclusion to come to as of now because we so don't know anything.
Right.
So.
But do you guys think that it's a mind reading, if it is in fact his mind being kind of read or controlled, do you guys think that it's for good or bad advantage? That's the
I think bad. When
Yeah?
I think of red, I think bad though. Yeah. So I don't know.
You must not like Valentine's Day.
It's not the best.
That's true. All right, so final question of the night. Tyler Myers at Myers FTW. Do you think it was too soon for Kara and her aunt to meet and have that big fight? I don't think so. But then again, I'm the one that's all gung-ho about this pacing, and I was surprised that they met so soon, yes. But I'm happy that they did because it probably means that this season is going to be high impact, a lot of action, a lot of things formulating. So I'm really happy that it came out already.
Yeah, it was my favorite part of this episode was getting to know her more. So
I
liked
agree.
it.
And it was very unexpected, and I like when a show surprises me like that. So I'm glad it happened so quickly. And I think that gives them more time to see their relationship develop, whether that be into something good or something not so good. But I'm glad it was the second episode.
Yeah, I would not expect that to come this soon either, for sure. But I think, too, you know, like we talked about last week, I think usually when you watch TV shows, the fight sequences and the action sequences, they get better as the show goes along. And I feel like, you know, the two of them flying and fighting at the same time, that was pretty cool. I
Very
really
cool.
liked
Yeah.
that. So if that was only their first encounter in the second episode, just like you were saying, I mean, it can only get bigger and better from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's also good that they put her in the second episode where they meet, because now Kara knows who she's really dealing with. You know, you got in the Flash and Arrow, you've always got the Deathstroke or the really bad guy, and so I guess her aunt is the really bad guy, girl or whatever.
Exactly.
I like it.
Yeah.
Me too.
I also noticed, this is off topic, but I'm just going to throw it out there.
Okay,
so,
my coffee story.
So I grew up watching, the Superman, the Donner movies and like the Christopher Reeve movies. And in Superman 3, there is a scene where Superman there's an oil spill. And so for me, since I've been watching those movies, and Superman 3 is admittedly an awful movie. It is really crazy and bad, but I still have a little bit of soft spot in my heart for it. But anyway, it reminded me when she was having to deal with the oil spill, it reminded me of Superman 3, and there was part of me that was like, are they doing this on purpose? This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, and also if they are, what a weird thing to pull from, like the weirdest scene in one of the worst Superman movies ever, but anyway, that's just my little nerd side
But
note.
then there's fans
Very
like
nice
you
notes.
that appreciate it.
Yeah, right.
That's
and
true.
I'm sure there's many fans like you.
Yeah.
I wonder if I'm the only one that thought of that. I'm
I
sure
don't
you'll tell
think
me in comments.
All right, guys. Anything else before we sign off from our viewers?
I liked the snake caught in the tree.
I didn't. I'm
did.
terrified of snakes.
So was Cara, though. It was cute.
Yeah, I
So
know.
I didn't
She's like,
expect this.
especially one's named Fluffy. I mean,
So silly.
Yeah, I like those little how they throw in some humor in there. So I
Yeah.
really appreciate that. So I am absolutely looking forward to episode 3. I hope you guys are too. Again, don't forget to send us those questions and those comments all week long at #ColliderSupergirl. Your tweets might come up on our show. I'm like brain farting. All right, so we are going to sign off. Ladies over there, how do people follow you throughout the week?
you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Britta_Garsow. And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Carli_Garsow.
And on my right, yes.
Yes, and you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Clarke Wolfe, Clarke with an E, Wolf with an E, and youtube.com/official Clarke Wolfe.
And you can find me right down there at KAORIOUS. That's Kaorius. And you can follow the whole entire Collider Video team at Collider Video. We've got a lot of after shows here. We've got The Flash, Arrow, Supergirl, obviously,
Walking
Dead, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So come join us. Tell a friend. A friend a day will keep us going. So thank you again for joining us for Supergirl. And we'll catch you next week for some more Supergirl talk. Bye.